Good evening, guys, and happy Monday to all of your sunshiny faces. My goodness, guys, it feels like spring right now. It's currently like 45 degrees right now. I don't know what the high was for today, but it looks like tomorrow it's supposed to be like almost 48. So it's only going to get about 2 or 3 degrees warmer than it is right now. But oh my goodness, guys, like it just has, like the furnace has been very infrequently going, but it's like it just feels like spring. Like I don't know how to describe it, but like there's something about like the house, like, and it's weird because I was even talking to Matthew and Jack about this, especially the attic. When it's really hot out for some reason, the attic has a certain kind of smell, and like when it's really cold it also has a certain kind of smell. But like even too, like just in like the general house, when it's like spring, like it's starting to get from that like really cold to like warm, kind of like you can kind of smell it or like feel it. I don't know how to describe it. Like it's just a kind of like feeling, but it's like kind of all of the senses. Like it just like, I don't know. Like I said, it kind of smells a certain way, kind of like not like a bad smell, but it just like smells and kind of feels like spring. And like too, because like the floors feel warmer on top of it. It's like when I walk around like on the floor, I'm like, my feet aren't really cold. Like, so like that also, like it's just like all of the general senses kind of coming together just feels like that like spring feeling. And again too, because again it was like, you know, whatever it was, -5 degrees the other day, you know, on Friday or Thursday or whatever it was. We were so freezing cold, and then today it's like 45 degrees. You know, like it's just like that drastic change in temperature just makes it feel very like it just, I don't know how to describe it. Like I said, just the house kind of feels, and like, you know, and maybe it's like the outside smell, you can kind of like smell that spring, but like it's not like, you know, it's been like accumulating for like a long time. Like, you know, the ground is like thawing and all this kind of stuff, so it smells like it happens very quickly. You know, so it's not like, oh, like, you know, the plants, you know, like are coming up and that's like what you smell and things like that. And again too, because like the like I was saying too, like the ground thawing and stuff like that, like it happened so quickly because it was still cold yesterday, and then today it just got super warm. So like that's not like the smell that, like I said, I feel like I associate with spring, but it's something about like the house, like, you know. And then the same thing too in summertime, there's also a certain kind of like smell that I feel like just kind of lingers. And again, they're not like bad smells or anything, but it's just like that kind of feeling of like, and especially for me, it's kind of the smell of like the house. The same thing too when it turns winter, and normally I feel like that's because the furnace is on. Like it smells a little bit like, I don't know, like warm, kind of like, I don't know, like vent smell almost. Again, not like it's like dirty smell, but it's just like, you know, like, I don't know, like a different smell, especially when the furnace like first comes on in the winter time. If we haven't had it on yet, then like that first like day or so it smells a little, but like I said, it's not a bad smell. It just smells like, you know, a new kind of like season, and today it felt like that and it smelled like that. I know that sounds, you know, again, weird saying like the smell of it, but no, it's like a good thing. But like I said, I think that means that hopefully it's actually not, well, okay, it's supposed to get cold again. We're only supposed to have the warmth, I think, up until like Thursday. Originally I think I told you guys Tuesday it was supposed to rain. Now it's Thursday it's supposed to rain, and then we're supposed to get back down into like being 30s or so, but it's supposed to stay almost into the 50s like through the next couple days, and then it's supposed to get really cold again after that. So I think it was on Friday it's supposed to get back down to it, and then by next weekend it's not going to be super warm, but it's also not going to be -5 degrees outside anymore. So that's nice. But I think honestly though too, because there was such a drastic change in temperature, I just was feeling a little like, I don't know. I don't want to say not motivated today. I actually felt, and maybe too was because the change in temperature, I just felt very, like after we got that cabinet organized yesterday, I showed you guys how we were, you know, reorganized our pantry, our snack pantry. I don't know why, I just felt so much more kind of like inspired, but I was also very, very like tired and kind of lazy today, and I feel like maybe that had something to do with like the weather a little bit. But because like, I don't know, like if it's like goes from being really cold to really warm, or like really warm to really cold, just like a really, really drastic change in temperature really quickly, a lot of times I will get like sinus stuff, and like, I don't know, sometimes it feels kind of like allergies. I didn't have that today, but I just felt very like kind of tired and a little bit off. And like on top of that though too, I actually was up somewhat early today because I've been waking up so early over the weekend. Like, so I told you guys how like on Saturday or whatever it was something crazy, like I got like a ton of, I was up for like so long because I went to bed pretty late. I woke up, I only got like a few hours of sleep, but I was up really early. Then I stayed up really late that night, and then yesterday I ended up going to bed somewhat earlier, but then got up early again to go to the grocery stores yesterday. And then last night I was super tired too though, so I went to bed early. I woke up today a little bit later, but like I was actually up when Jack left for school around 9 or 10 o'clock, and then I think I kind of stayed in bed a little bit until about 11 o'clock honestly. It was a little bit after that, or a little bit before that, like 10 something, I think I ended up actually like getting up out of bed. But I was up from like about 9 or 10 o'clock, which again was actually pretty good, because normally Mondays are like the worst day for me, because when I wind up like, you know, the weekend will normally, I'll get very little sleep because I'm getting up, I'm like staying up late with everybody because we're always like doing things on the weekend. But then I'll get up really early to go to the grocery store, so I get really, really bad sleep on the weekend. So Monday I'm almost always going to bed early and then sleeping in super, 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 super late. And so again, although I slept until around like 10 o'clock or so, I was originally up, like I heard, well actually, here's a funny story guys. I was up, I heard my mom and Jack like talking, and I was up for like about a half an hour or so. Then I kind of fell back asleep for a little bit. So like, I don't know, I was kind of in and out, but then I actually got up, like I said, before 10 o'clock, or not before 10 o'clock, somewhere around 10 o'clock. So anyways though, the funny story, yesterday we were actually, I was just scrolling through, like on social media, and there's like a group, like a neighborhood group page that, like I follow, for, you know, our town. And so somebody posted in there and said that they saw a coyote, and somebody posted this, like I don't think it was the same person, but they posted this a while ago saying it was on, they saw it on our street. And I was like, oh my goodness, like I know that there's coyotes around here, and you know, again, we live in a like a very like, I don't know, tight area though, so I feel like there's not like a ton of them like normally like hanging around in, you know, like our immediate neighborhood. Like I always knew if there were ones, like, so where my aunt and uncle used to live is just like really far, kind of not down the street from us, but just like, you know, again, a couple streets down, and you know, again, further away, but it's past like one really busy street. So, and I always knew that they had like a lot of wildlife. Like my aunt would say like they would see deer, and you know, like again, I'm assuming coyotes, you know, that kind of stuff. And they weren't like they were in a like somewhat more forested area, but there was like the like lots, like the house lots, they were very big. Like the houses were not close together, and they had a lot of like open area. And like I said, probably I think there's like foresty area around there. Now we do have the park that is very big, and it also connects to like a like bike trail, and so like that whole area though is all wooded, and it goes very, very far back. Like there's a huge like area. I don't know if it's like, I actually don't really know like what kind of is like behind our park, but there's like nothing. It's like our park, and then there's like nothing else past it. And like I said, other than like the only way you can get through is like through the bike trail. And so like I said, I know that there's like kind of some like random construction like site kind of stuff that's back there, and like, you know, again, some other things, but the park, and just like generally that whole area, I would assume that, again, if there's coyotes, that's probably where they are. And again too, they end up in town, and you know, they'll wind up, you know, again, kind of making their way through. And I know that it's mating season right now, but we saw somebody post about it again like a handful of days ago, that they saw it walking down like our streets, and I was like, wow, that's crazy. Literally, I kid you guys not, it was yesterday that somebody posted a picture of a coyote that was 2 houses away from us, and I was like, oh my goodness, like that's scary when you have little dogs, like our 2 little dogs, you know, like especially on top of that. Like again, I've seen people like post pictures of like them in the streets and like all this kind of stuff, but like just seeing one, and I've seen a fox in our backyard before we had our fence up. I saw a fox run through our backyard, which is also really crazy because foxes are like very, I feel like you're more likely to see a coyote than you are a fox. I've seen coyotes before, I've never seen a fox before, and especially not in my backyard. Like, that was crazy. And like I was telling you guys too, like we're in a very, very, very densely populated area, so there's not a lot of like foresty space around us other than our park, that's like really one of the biggest parks that probably in our probably in our city, like not the biggest, but it's one of the oldest. I think it's, I don't want to say the oldest park, but it's one of the much older parks, and much more like developed parks. Like they put a lot more into it. I feel like, again, it's been around for a lot longer than some of the other ones that are bigger, and they're a lot more newer. But like I said, this one has been like, with all of the like different facility things that they've had there, has been there for like a really long time. Again, I know that there's other ones that are bigger and have a lot of facility stuff, but a lot of that is all the newer ones. So again, though, this area, like where we are, there's not a lot of, you know, like open space other than kind of there where I would think maybe they are, or hanging out and stuff like that. And so like I said, though, that's just kind of crazy that literally it was like 2 or 3 houses somewhere around there, you know, walking down the street. And my assumption was it was probably headed back towards the park because of the way that it was like walking. And so again, I just thought that that was like really kind of scary, because I've heard people even say too, like, you know, they can climb fences, they can, you know, hop fences, they can dig underneath fences, you know. So even though our yard is fenced in, we do not want to leave our dogs out in the backyard without being supervised, especially right now. And you know, like obviously Bliss is much bigger, like she's probably close to the size of a coyote, you know, but she's old. Like I don't think that, you know, again, she's, you know, I think that she would do fine if she ended up coming face to face with one, but like, you know, again, she is older, and if something were to happen, you know, and like, I think that she'd probably scare it away, I think is what I'm trying to say. But you know, if it weren't to be scared away by her, I don't know like what she would end up, you know, being able to like do, because like I said, she is kind of older. Like she would definitely be aggressive towards it and be barking at it, but you know, and trying to scare it away kind of. But you know, if it ended up somehow getting over the fence and towards her, you know, I don't know what she would actually end up being able to like handle herself against it either, like I said, just because she is pretty old. And obviously again, the puppies are just sitting there for snacks because they're not standing a chance against a coyote. So you know, we have to make sure that like we end up taking the dogs out in the backyard and somebody stays with them. But like I was saying too, like in our, you know, again, we do have a fenced in yard, but we have, and it's a privacy and 8-foot fence, but we have the space in the driveway that's not, it's like a 4-foot fence or whatever. So again, coyote could potentially get over that. Or again too, it could still crawl underneath, you know, and end up digging its way underneath into our yard, which is also, you know, kind of scary. But you know, and also too, like the thing that I always heard people say was like, oh, coyotes are more scared of you than you are of them, kind of thing. And it's like, I honestly, that's not really true, especially in like mating season. I've heard they're not skittish, and like too, just because they're so used to being in people's space nowadays, it's like they're just learning to like, you know, cohabitate with you, and really they're not scared of you very much. So again, some might be, but a lot, again, I saw a lot of people saying like, oh, you know, I was walking down the street and saw one and it just walked right past me. Like, you know, they just really don't care anymore kind of like, but you know, again, that's kind of, it's scary that was like you know, again, when I heard, again, a couple weeks ago or whatever it was, that somebody was like, was on our street, I was like, okay, like that's kind of, you know, again, alarming. But to see that it was 2 houses away, and again, I actually think that too, I was looking at the time that they had posted it, it was very close to when we took our dogs out at that time too, during the day yesterday. So I was like, that could have been like really scary. But like I said, we normally are always watching our dogs in the backyard regardless, even though we have a fenced in backyard. Somebody's normally always keeping an eye on them. And again too, especially now, because it's a little bit more like scary. But anyways, that was what I heard my mom talking about to Jack this morning, because she saw footprints in the snow in the front yard when they were leaving, or something like that, or I don't know, maybe last night she saw footprints like in the snow, and originally she thought it was a cat. But then she was like, you know, as Jack was taking the dogs out this morning, she had said something like, oh, you guys made it back in okay. You know, you guys didn't find any coyotes out there. And then I heard her talking to him. Like I said, that's how I know I was totally awake at this time. And she was talking to him, and she was like, I think I saw the footprints in the snow, like out in front of our house. So like I said, it's a weird thing to think about, because, you know, I'm always like, we're so close to like our neighbors and stuff like that, and it's not like we have no trees on our property. We have got one little baby tree on the parkway, that is it. Like, we're not in like a densely forested, or, you know, open fields kind of area where you would expect, you know, I guess, to see more of that. But again, the park is probably the place where they are, like I was saying, it is not in the park so much as it's probably the more like forested area, like behind the park, that they are probably hanging out at. And they're probably, you know, like I said, it's mating season, so they're probably hanging around over there. So like I said, it's kind of scary though that it's been spotted multiple times now on our street. But anyways, guys, I am going to take a shower now and get to bed. I will see you guys all in tomorrow's vlog. If you guys did enjoy today's, make sure you guys give a gold thumbs up. If you guys are new, I'd love it if you'd subscribe, and I'll see y'all over sunshiny faces tomorrow. So bye, guys.